This is Mac OS Ken.
COVID causes more supply chain disruption. Morgan Stanley's impressed by app sales, and a head-scratcher around the new iMac. It is Monday, the 31st of May, 2021. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Learn more and check your rate at upstart.com/macosken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macosken. More COVID concerns in the supply chain. Apple Insider highlights a Reuters report that says a surge in COVID-19 cases in Vietnam has forced a slowdown for manufacturers there, including at least one of Apple's. After successfully containing the new coronavirus for most of last year, the Reuters report says, Vietnam is now battling an outbreak that is spreading more quickly. More than 3,000 people have been infected in 30 of its 63 cities and provinces since late April. As for the effect the outbreak will have on Apple specifically, there's not a lot in the story on that. According to Apple Insider, a source at an Apple supplier had reported that the factory had split its workforce over 2 shifts. The source also says that the changes are temporary for now, with the current measures expected to last 2 weeks. Otherwise, the source told Reuters, the supply chain will be more or less disrupted. The source requested anonymity, which may be why the piece doesn't say which Apple supplier or suppliers are affected. The story does fold in with one from a couple of weeks ago, though. Back on the 19th of May, Bloomberg had word of Apple suppliers Foxconn and Luxshare closing plants in the same region due to a surge in COVID cases. Morgan Stanley analyst Katie Huberty is expecting a beat for the App Store this quarter. Philip Elmer DeWitt's Apple 3.0 ran part of a note she wrote late last week, wherein she noted improvement for the App Store from April to May. Following a weaker than expected month of App Store performance in April, Huberty says she and hers wanted to take a look at App Store numbers. Through the end of the business day last Tuesday, her firm estimates that App Store net revenue was up 12% year over year. That beat her revenue growth expectation of 7%. Assuming no huge change, she figures revenue growth will come in at 14% for the June quarter, beating her firm's expectation of 11% revenue growth. Quoting her note, "We are encouraged by the month-to-date App Store performance, as it implies engagement is exceeding our expectations despite measures to fight the COVID-19 pandemic being rolled back." And with a 3-point easier year-over-year comparison in the month of June, we believe it is likely that App Store outperforms our forecast by quarter's end. Given that supply chain data points imply potential upside to our June quarter iPhone and iPad forecasts as well, we are increasingly bullish on Apple's June quarter earnings, especially in light of the stock's recent underperformance, which we believe is unwarranted. Morgan Stanley has an overweight rating on Apple shares. Huberty's price target on the shares is $161. Something seems to be gumming up the paid podcast works for Apple. Engadget says the Cupertino company wrote to podcast producers late last week, letting them know that the paid thing won't be starting until June, not May as originally intended. I actually got that email from Apple on Friday, the 28th of May. Over the last few weeks, it said, some creators have experienced delays in availability of their content and access to Apple Podcast Connect. While Apple says it's addressed those issues, it also encourages people still having trouble to get in touch. To ensure we are delivering the best experience for creators and listeners, said the email, Apple Podcast subscriptions and channels will now launch in June. Apple continues to beat the eco drum with an eye on economics as well. Apple Insider highlights comments delivered by Apple VP, Environment, Policy, and Social Initiatives Lisa Jackson, Speaking at the Department of Energy's Advanced Research Projects Agency Energy Summit, Jackson spoke of the need for renewable energy initiatives, though not at the expense of communities and the jobs that power them. Quoting her comments, "It's an economic opportunity for your community. It's not going to take jobs away. It's going to bring opportunity in. Overall, net, we are better off as a community, but government needs to give communities a seat at the table in those discussions that are happening." Of course, this is something Apple is trying to do on its own in the supply chain. Quoting her comments again, "We've made very clear, frankly, that by 2030 we're requiring companies in the supply chain to use clean energy, and it needs to be 100%. So we're saying, work with us now in these 9 years remaining so we can all get to clean energy together." Apple is also encouraging companies in the supply chain to share information with each other on making the move to renewable energy. More news in a moment, but first a word from Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Paying off debt can feel like an uphill battle. High interest rates plus minimum monthly payments keep people in an endless cycle of debt. Upstart can help. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple, fixed monthly payment. Upstart looks at more than just your credit score, factoring in income and employment history. That lets them offer smarter rates with trusted partners. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate upfront for loans between $1,000 to $50,000, and you can receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/macOSKen. That's UPSTART, upstart.com/macOSKen. Don't forget to use my URL to let them know that I sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/macOSKen. Apple TV Plus has nabbed an interesting sounding series. Deadline says the Cupertino streamer has signed a 10-episode straight-to-series order for the half-hour comedy The Big Door Prize. According to the report, The Big Door Prize tells the story about the residents of a small town called Deerfield who one day discover a magical, destiny-predicting machine in their grocery store. Based on the best-selling novel by M.O. Walsh, Deadline says bidding on the project was competitive. No offense to Mr. Walsh, but that probably had more to do with the creative behind the TV treatment than the book itself. David West Reed will serve as writer, executive producer, and showrunner. He just ended a run on the comedy series Schitt's Creek, starting as a writer in the show's second season, ending up as executive producer on the show for seasons 5 and 6. Another factor that may have worked in favor of the Big Door Prize: existing partnerships. Skydance Television is one of the studios behind the upcoming series. They're also the studio behind Foundation, the series based on the Isaac Asimov novels, due to hit Apple TV Plus this fall. And finally today, here's one to leave one wondering. Mac Rumors says Jony Ive helped design the latest 24-inch iMac. What it doesn't say is when. Actually, Apple said Ive helped design it, so I guess the timeline's on the Cupertino company. The report actually quotes a piece from Wired, saying Jony Ive was involved in the design of the new iMac, despite having left Apple back in 2019. Hardware design is a long process, so perhaps it's not surprising that Ive's fingerprints are all over this new desktop. But interestingly, Apple would not confirm or deny if he worked on the 2021 iMac after he left the company, just that he had worked on it. When Ive's planned departure was announced in 2019, Apple said his new firm would still do work for Apple. According to Apple's press release a couple of years ago, Apple's chief design officer will depart the company as an employee later this year to form an independent design company which will count Apple among its primary clients. While he pursues personal projects, Ive and his new company will continue to work closely and on a range of projects with Apple. So why would Apple be cagey about whether he worked on the latest machines before or after he left? Here's another thing, just for fun. The new iMacs use the same design language as the ones that were definitely designed under Ive's watch. Could that actually be what they mean when they say that Sir Jony was involved in the design of the new iMac? It is really, truly not important. But it does leave one wondering. Coming up in a few minutes, Jeff Gamet joins us this week. What's on his mind? The rollout of Apple Sidewalk and the freakout that has accompanied it. Not sure what any of that is? Listen in and find out. The show is called In a Few Minutes. Grab it and listen wherever you grab and listen to podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Learn more and check your rate at upstart.com/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.